Hold up, I am on my way, I'm in motion. Let's go to the ocean. Yeah, let's go outside. We can hang out on the beach without freezing.
Welcome to Crafty Beach. This is Julie. Today I have 7 bee Dollar Tree DIYs for you. I love decorating with bees for spring or summer or both. It's such a fun theme and you can find some really cute items from the Dollar Tree to decorate. For the first DIY, I wanted to make a honey pot lantern. For the jar, I'm just using one of these square glass containers. I thought this would work well. I know square is not necessarily something you would think of for a jar, but I think it's going to make it a little bit easier to decorate it and stuff like that because it won't be completely round. And I'm just going to give it a quick cleaning to make sure the inside and the outside are both clean. I want to dye it so that you'll be able to see light through it, but I want it to look like it has honey inside the jar. To do that, I'm just using some Mod Podge here in a cup, and I'm going to just start adding some food coloring. I have some food coloring that I picked up at the Dollar Tree that I just use for crafting. It's very expired, but hey, it still works. And I'm just going to start adding yellow to the Mod Podge. I wasn't really getting where I wanted to with the yellow. It wasn't quite that golden honey color. So I do go in and add a little bit of red as well to kind of get more of a golden feel. But I don't want to add very much of that because a little goes a long way. So a couple drops of red. And as you see, you'll get like an orange color. I don't really necessarily want it to be orange. I do want it to be golden. So I'm going to add more yellow. I do want it to be thick, so I'm not going to water this down at all because I want it to look like gloppy honey on the inside of the jar. I'm not going to be dripping any honey or anything on the outside of the jar, so I kind of want to get that look of the honey by the inside. So I want it to be nice and thick. So I pour what I have here in the bottom of this jar. The jar is pretty large. I'm just going to start working it around by spinning it around so it will kind of go up the sides. I want to fill up the entire jar with our faux honey. And again, I made it really thick on purpose to get that gloppy texture. So it was a little bit of a challenge to get it to go all the way down to the rim. But I was able to do that. Just put down a paper towel because it definitely gets messy for this part. I was trying to make sure that I had everything covered. And I want to let it dry, but I also want it to kind of come back down inside the jar to make it look like a honey jar that has been used was what I was going for, since I'm not going to do any like drips of honey on the outside. If you wanted to do drips of honey on the outside, you could use some like yellow tinted hot glue for that, but I didn't have any in my stash. So we're going to make it work with just Mod Podge and a little bit of food coloring. I'm going to start its drying process like that. And then for the top of the lid, I'm going to use one of the Dollar Tree push lights. That way I can like unscrew the lid, push the light to turn it on, and I won't actually have anything in the jar, but it's going to light up the jar. For the lid, I just take it and I take some of the Dollar Tree bee honeycomb fabric, and I'm going to cut a circle of fabric like you would see on the top of a jar if you've been canning, and I'm just going to cut out a circle. I thought I'd probably have a better chance of getting a good circle to fold the fabric in fourths to cut that out. And they have like a 3, I think, different varieties of the honeycomb fabric. I always pick it up every year at Dollar Tree whenever I see it because it can be really fun for little projects like this. I want it to go around the round lid like this, and I can attach that with glue and a little twine to make it look cute, but nothing that's going to interfere with me taking the lid on and off to be able to turn the light on and off. I want to use this for my kitchen. I always like to have like a little light up decorative item on my kitchen that's seasonal. I think it's really cute. And if you want to go into the kitchen and the light's not on, it looks really good on the counter. For the twine, I probably should have left this step to last because depending on how you screw the lid on is where you're going to have it tied off. I end up moving it a little bit, but for now, I just put it on with a couple dots of hot glue, and I tie that around the outside edges of it to give that like ruffled look to it, and just tie it off with a simple knot, leaving a couple little strings on there. Nothing crazy. We are going to decorate the front of the honey jar lantern too, and I love how this project turned out. It was so much fun. This does have double-sided tape on the back of it, so I'm just gonna peel and stick. As you can see, it fits just inside the lid with enough room to be able to screw it on, so that is helpful. Now this has lots of paint seeping out of it still, and it's super wet. I'm gonna start the drying process, but I'm gonna let it dry on its own. If I were to leave it upside down, I would get a very even coating of the tinted Mod Podge all over the sides. But again, I want it to look gloppy and I want it to like go down the sides of it a little bit. So I'm not gonna wait for it to dry. I'm gonna go ahead and start decorating this. I just use a black paint pen and I'm just gonna simply spell out the word honey there on the front. Nothing crazy. And then I thought we could decorate it with some flowers and bees on the front. Those little wooden beads I picked up on Amazon the other day because I wasn't able to find any at Dollar Tree this year. And I have them linked in my Amazon shop as well. For the flowers, I wanted small white and yellow flowers, but I didn't have anything small enough. So I'm gonna use these little white paper flower stickers from the Dollar Tree. And just using a paint pen, making that little pearl in the middle yellow, I thought it would give me that same effect. It's just kind of difficult not to get it on the flower itself. I was able to on these two. And they have double-sided tape on the back, so I'm just gonna use that to stick that on there. The little bees have double-sided tape as well. At first, I added them like this. I did notice that a lot of them aren't going to stay with the double-sided tape on that glass jar. So I did go back and add some hot glue to them, at least the ones that were like directly on the glass like that. But I think 5 would look good here on the front of our honey jar. And as you can see, it's thick and gloppy in there, which is exactly what I wanted. I think it's going to give it a cool effect when I light it up. So I just popped the lid on. After turning it on, turn it on there, and this is how it turned out. Isn't that so cute? Let me give you a closer look. This is what it looks like during the day. So it looks like it's pretty full of honey during the day. It's kind of an illusion though, because the way that the gloppy Mod Podge inside dried, it makes it look like it's a honey jar that has been used a lot. So I will show you what it looks like lit up as well. Here it is, our little honey jar lantern. I think it turned out really cute. I love the gloppy honey effect by using that thick Mod Podge inside. And of course the cute little bees on there finish it off. This was such an easy DIY to make. I just had a vision of this in my head. I'm like, I bet I could make that work. I would really like to have like a little light up honey jar to go with my bee theme for spring. For this DIY, I'm going to use one of these You Are the Bee's Knees salad plates from the Dollar Tree and one of the glass candle holders. What I want to do is make a little dish to go on my console table right inside my front door, somewhere where I can kind of toss my keys this spring. I always like to have a tray or a bowl or something there. And I think this will work well. I chose this candle holder because it's not very tall. I don't want it to fall over or anything like that, being that people are going to be tossing their keys in and out of it. And so I think this will be the right size. I thought we could decorate it though with some Dollar Tree rope. And so I just start here at the top of it, making sure I kind of go almost flush, but leaving a little bit of the glass exposed. You're not going to be able to see that underneath the table. And this has kind of an interesting shape. It goes in and out, but I think it will work. I'm just taking some of the thinner brown rope from the Dollar Tree and attaching it with hot glue as I go because I want to make sure that it stays close all the way around the different like elevations on this one. I just had a scrap piece of rope. It wasn't quite long enough, but that's okay. We can always start and restop this pretty easily. Just make sure you kind of glue down any like loose fibers that you have to make it look a little bit better. I was just going to do this with rope, but then I decided to take it up a notch and kind of make it look like a little mini bee skep underneath. I thought that would be fun. Here at the bottom, I kind of cut it a little bit of an angle so I'll get more of a flat bottom. And then the first thing I'm going to do is just burn the fuzzies off the Dollar Tree rope here to get us started. The little plate itself is perfect. It's so cute. And I really wanted to find something I could DIY with it. So I was really happy with how this project turned out. I also want to make sure I don't have any hot glue on there. I try to use my heat gun for that. And then I'm just going to use a black paint pen. We're just going to paint a little black circle on here for an opening. Nothing crazy. And just painting the rope itself. Pretty easy to do. And then we're gonna cover it with a few bees as well. So that is that really cute little plate. I love it. I love the saying on there too. It's a really cute saying to greet people when they come in and toss their keys in here. I'm just using hot glue on the rope and peeling the double-sided tape off the back of those little wooden bees from Amazon and attaching them all over. I think 3 is going to be enough because it's not super big. And now it's just a matter of attaching. Since I'm doing ceramic to glass, I want to use a stronger glue. I'm going to use some of this Gorilla Glue and just let it have some time to set up so it'll be a little bit stronger than hot glue would. And I just go around the rim, making sure to center that on the plate just like that. And then I'm just going to have to set this aside so it will dry. This is how it turned out, my little tray. I have a whole bunch of my bee DIYs displayed near my front door, and I think this is going to be the perfect final touch. I can put it on the console right next to the door, and we can just toss our keys in there. Nothing really heavy or anything like that. And I think it's nice and short enough to work well for this purpose, but I also think it's really cute. For this DIY, I'm using one of the giant Easter eggs from the Dollar Tree Plus. This is $5, so it's a really big Easter egg. It's so big, it was kind of hard to show on my workstation actually crafting it. I'm going to use the top of it to make a giant bee skep or beehive. I have made like a lot of smaller versions of this, but I have never made a large one. And I've seen some in some really nice home decor. They have some really big ones that you can even hang from the ceiling if you want for your project. I'm going to make one that goes on my counter. So I think it's going to be really cute, but it's going to require a lot of rope and a lot of hot glue. As you can see, I'm using the thicker rope. This is the 8-foot rope from Dollar Tree. And I had 6 packages of it there. It's not enough, spoiler. I'll kind of show you how much I end up using, but it was close. I'm thinking probably 8 packages would be enough. And I just start in the middle, hot gluing that on and spiraling it. It is a blue color, so I do want to try to squeeze the rope together a little bit as I'm hot gluing it to the egg to make sure that I don't have any gaps. I don't want you to be able to see any of that blue color through. And you can see about how far one package made it. It is a huge egg, so it's going to make just a giant bee skep. I absolutely love how it turned out, though. It was so much fun. This did take me a while. I'm trying to think. I think it took me about an hour and a half to make this, but thanks to the power of editing, it's only going to take us a few minutes. So 2 packages, you still feel like you're not getting super far with this. It is a little bit easier using the thicker rope though, but it is of course shorter. So lots of starting and stopping. And I just try to make sure that I hot glue my ends together, make sure they're not frayed at all. And I am removing the tape from, of course, both ends of the rope when I go to begin gluing this on. And the reason why I'm hot gluing it everywhere, even when I'm wrapping it, is because I want to keep it in place again, and I don't want to see the blue through the different cracks. I also want this to be really heavy duty and to hold up, where I could display this outside if I wanted to, like on a table on my porch, or I think I might actually just use mine in my entryway. It is so cute. We're going to decorate it too, kind of decorate it like you would a wreath because it's like such a big display piece. But for now, I'm still wrapping it in rope. This is how far I have. When they say a giant egg, they mean it. Now you could do this on a smaller scale. I'm sure that they have a little bit smaller versions of these eggs for $1.25. I'm not sure if they have like a $3 version of this one. But I'm going to save the bottom of the egg to use for something else. It's a nice bowl shape, so I think that will be good for crafting something else. But this definitely provided me a very firm base and the perfect shape. I know that you could use like a flower pot for this, but I think that that egg shape just gives you the perfect bee skep. Now, as you can see, I am on my last package of rope. I'm going to have to order another case of this one. I just ordered a case of the thinner brown rope from Dollar Tree to free ship to my store. They do have both kinds in stock for that. And you can get that. I do have a Dollar Tree link in the description of my video as well. It's a great way to make sure that you have enough of the same kind of rope in stock, especially if you're going to do a larger project. So I counted my package. It was 6 packages and I still have some room to go. Luckily, I had lots of scrap pieces of the same size, but again, they're random and they're shorter. So I'm not exactly sure. I'm estimating probably about 8 packages. I would have counted all of them if I would have had enough to start and stop, but definitely gonna have to restock the rope. I love using rope for Dollar Tree crafting, but especially for bee DIYs, it can be so much fun. And as you can see, we are getting closer. So I'm just gonna finish wrapping this with rope, going all the way to the bottom, and then maybe 1 row around. Make sure that I cover all the plastic, but I want it to be nice and sturdy, so I don't want a lot of freestanding rope there at the bottom of this bee skep. Now, at the end, I try to cut it a little bit at an angle to make it completely blend in. But I think it turned out really cute. It was a really fun project. And when I thought I was making a really big, giant bee skep, I don't know if I realized exactly how big it would be. It is really large, but I love it. It's going to be a great piece that will fill up a table or countertop. And again, if you wanted to do the bottom on yours, you could add a plate or something flat on the bottom, some cardboard cut out, and keep going around and cover the back. And that way you could hang it up on your porch or something like that if you wanted to. Those are my inspiration pieces. That's how they were. But the first thing I do is just go all over with my lighter, burning off the fuzzies. It was a really big project, so I had a lot of rope. And just make sure that I kind of fill in any of the gaps with a little bit of hot glue to make sure they're laying flat. And you can cut off some of the excess stringing on it as well. Then to decorate it, I'm going to use some of the thinner brown rope here to do a little circle on the front to go around the opening to the bee skep. It's going to add a little bit more texture. And I think it's the right scale for the little toy bees from the Dollar Tree, which we're going to use to decorate this. And then I used some of the wider rope that I used for the bee skep itself. And I just cut out a handle here for the top. Since mine's going to be a desktop, it doesn't have to be super strong. I'm just going to attach mine after the fact. I just glue the ends together to make sure they don't fray and loop it like this, and then I'm going to attach it with hot glue. Now, if you were going to hang yours, I would maybe start at the bottom, work my rope all the way up to the top, and when you got to the top, I would go ahead and make the loop with the same piece that's attached to the rest of the rope. That's attached to the egg, if that makes sense, to make it a little bit stronger. I also cut a small piece of that thinner rope to go around just to have a little bit more rope to glue that to reinforce it, to make it a little bit stronger there at the top. And I think that looks pretty good. Now for this part, I just need a little circle here. I'm going to kind of map out where I want it to be and how big it needs to be with a black paint pen here by just kind of holding the rope on there and then sketching out a rough circle. It doesn't have to be perfect at all because you're going to have that rope go around and border it. And I like to actually use a brush and some black paint when I am working with a project like this where I really need to get into the fibers of that rope. And I just paint that on there, and it's going to give me really good coverage too for the opening of the bee skep. I think that looks pretty good. I give it a quick dry so it doesn't get on the rope that we're about to attach to it. And then I just add it here. I'm going to work my way around starting at the bottom and just make a little circle here to border it. I think it's just going to make it look a little bit cuter, add another texture to the front of this. And we're going to decorate this with greenery, bows, bees. I love how this turned out. For the bees, I'm using 2 of the Dollar Tree bees. These are so cute. They have a great texture. They're just very yellow. So I always like to paint mine if I'm going to use mine for home decor. The wings are perfect, so I just go ahead and pop those off. And I like the yellow and the black stripes on there, so I'm going to save that just by using some painter's tape and taping off that part of the bee. And then I'm going to paint the rest of it black. I just think they look better like that. And they're not necessarily black on their top body, but definitely their legs are, usually their head. So I think that works pretty well. You can use black spray paint for this. I'm just using some black acrylic paint because I thought it would dry a little bit faster. And once I had them taped off, I'm just painting the underside first. And they have like a great texture on them. They can be really great for decor, and you really can't tell that they are actually Dollar Tree toys. I always check the toy aisle when I'm looking for something whimsical and fun like this, and the bees are definitely my favorite find. And I'm going to use two just because it's such a big bee skep. So that looks pretty good. I painted the undersides, only need one coat, and then I'm going to do the same thing here on the top, kind of making sure I get into the little holes for the wings as well. So you won't see any gold coming through. And my painter's tape covers the yellow and black stripes. For some reason, they only paint those on the back. And so I will touch that up a little bit too after I make these little guys black. So they are dry enough. I can go ahead and take off the painter's tape here. As you can see, they do look a lot different when you paint them like this. I really like the look of it. I'm just going to use my black paint pen, touch up some of the stripes, touch up here where I kind of start and stop the black. And then I can flip them over and continue that stripe on, just because I think it looks kind of weird that it stops there on the sides and it's like kind of a little bit visible. And I just go all the way down with that, trying to kind of bend the legs out, connect them on the side. Pretty easy to do. And we have some really cute bees that we can use for crafting. I think these are going to be the perfect scale since the bee skep is so big and they are pretty large themselves. I just pop the little wings back on. Takes a little bit of pressure to get them back in there. They just kind of rely on pressure, so you don't really have to glue them on or anything like that. So I just add both of those, and then we can continue decorating this giant bee skep. I think they look pretty good. I found some great black and yellow striped wired ribbon from the Dollar Tree that I think will be really cute to display on this. Because it's wired, I can do a big bow on top. But first I want to add some flowers and some greenery. I think these yellow flowers will be perfect. And I'm going to use a little bit of this. Is it maybe eucalyptus? I think it's eucalyptus. It just says greenery on there. And it's a bright green color. I think it'll be perfect for spring. I have like a partial piece that had 4 little branches on there, and they are wired, so I did kind of wire my first 2 together. It was a little difficult to do that. I wanted to attach it and I wanted it to be sturdy. I didn't want to just use hot glue for the greenery. So I have some wire. This is the wire from the hardware section at the Dollar Tree. It can be any kind of wire you have. This is nice and thin, so I thought this would work well. And I'm working at an angle a little bit, having the greenery kind of go from one side to the other. And I just wire those 4 pieces on here, just making sure I get them included. And having that handle there was a great thing to be able to wire around to make this nice and strong for a base for the greenery. And I just wrap that all the way around just like that. I also want to add a little bit of this like fern greenery that I got at the Dollar Tree, just for a little bit of variety. So I cut off a couple pieces of that, leaving them pretty much intact. And I want to attach those two. So I kind of work those in the wire that we already have on there. And it's tight enough to keep those in place. And see where it's a little bit at an angle, it's going a little bit more to the back there on the one side. Now, I don't want you to see all of that wire that I added, so I do tie off some twine here. And I'm just going to wrap it with some Dollar Tree twine, just in case you can see any of that behind the flowers and everything we're going to add to this. I want to make sure that you can't see all of that exposed wire, and the twine will make it blend in a little bit with the rope that we used for everything else. So I just tie that off once I get it covered, use a little hot glue to glue the end down here. And that will be a perfect little cover for that. I'm glad I did that. It's just going to make it look a little bit better. And now it's time to add the bow. This is the ribbon I'm using. It's a wide ribbon. I think it's perfect. It does have a more faint black stripe on one side, so I'm going to twist it as I go. But I have a tail. I loop 2 loops together, gathering it in the middle, twist it, make a loop, twist it. I'm twisting it here where my fingers keep it together in the middle. And I'm doing that to make sure all of my loops have the outside of the fabric on it. And I'm going to do 3 loops on each side of my bow. and leaving a second tail on this side. And I'm just using my fingers to keep everything together here in the middle. This is just a really simple way to do a big bow like this. I grab a zip tie to bring it all together, trying to make sure that I have it centered in there so my loops will all be about the same size, and then pull that tight. Now that I have that tight, I can go ahead and dovetail the ends of my tails here on the ribbon. Make sure they're about the same height, and we can puff out this bow since it's wired to make it big and full. And then I'm just going to cut off the excess zip tie there. Super easy. I am not like great at bows, but I think that that will work. And then I thought about adding a little raffia, but then I decided that this mesh ribbon from the Dollar Tree would look really cute. This is the one that's a little bit ivory color. And I'm just going to do the same bow. This one I don't have to twist. And I just do 2 loops on each side, cutting a tail. So I start with a tail, loop it twice on each side, and then I'm just going to use a zip tie in the middle of this one as well. And it's not wired or anything, but I think that this will provide a great kind of background bow for the more colorful one. It's going to give another texture that can kind of peek out like this. And again, I want it to be strong, so I don't want to just glue this on. I take some more twine, I wrap it around the handle there, and I just tie this off, making sure I leave enough twine on here to be able to tie my next bow on as well. So that looks pretty good. I like that look. Here's the bow that we made with the yellow and black bee stripes. And I put that on there, tie that one off as well, right here in the middle. And you can't see the zip ties or anything that we use to make the bow because it's such a big fluffy bow. And just kind of work with it and arrange the bow until you're happy with it. I kind of worked mine a little bit towards the back as well. So it's kind of a side bow, kind of like everything else is on this. And then I want to add some of these yellow flowers from the Dollar Tree. These are daisies. I think that sunflowers would work really cute too. These are bright yellow, and I think they're going to be really pretty. I add the largest one right here in the middle and give them a quick little iron with my heat gun that helps get the wrinkles out and makes the petals lay flat. And then I use the slightly smaller ones on each side. I want to work with an odd number, so I'm going to do 3. So a smaller one here on the left as well. And I do attach those with hot glue. I have enough stuff on there that I can glue it to. And this is what it looks like so far with the bow, the greenery, the flowers. Now it's time to add the bees that we painted. I want one maybe on this side, kind of climbing up the little bee scap. I just add some hot glue to its head and to its tail. And hold that on there, making sure that that stays. You could always use a stronger glue for that, but when I'm gluing onto rope or fabric like that, hot glue seems to work pretty well for items like this. So that it's kind of hard to show you at this point because it's such a big bee scap, but I thought the other bee would look good maybe here on the other side to make it kind of random. And I attached that with hot glue too, kind of coming in from a different direction. And that is the final step in our giant bee scap. I love how this turned out. It is fabulous. Look at this thing. The giant Easter egg was definitely the secret behind this, and make sure that you have all of the same diameter rope for sure to give it that great bee scap look. And this is how mine turned out. I love decorating it with the greenery, the bows, the ribbons and stuff there at the top. Really adds a lot of fun up there. And of course, we can't forget the bees. So cute. If you see those in your toy section, be sure to pick some of those up for some bee crafting. You can kind of see, this is my haul tree, how large this is. It takes up a lot of it. This is a really easy DIY. I picked up an 8x10 frame from the Dollar Tree. It has a little bit of a wicker texture on it. I thought that would be fun for a bee theme. I don't really like the fact that it's all one color though, so I'm going to paint it a little bit to update it. And I'm just going to take the glass and everything out of the back. I'm going to show you how to do a really fun, bright spring canvas of a little honey truck. So the first thing I do is I'm just taking some ivory paint and a little sponge dauber, and I'm going to go all over, giving me kind of a base coat on the top and the bottom. And then I'm going to be using Antique Wax by Waverly to restain this. This is going to give me lots of different colors, like a faux wood grain, and I really want you to be able to see the great texture that is on this frame. I want it to almost look like the same color as the rope that I use for crafting with bee DIYs. So once it's dry, I take some antique wax by Waverly, and for the first coat, I go over it like this, and then use a baby wipe to wipe off the excess. It's going to give me a little bit of a base coat. It's a little bit lighter. I do go back in with more antique wax by Waverly to make it a little bit darker, but this is my first coat of this. The baby wipe takes off a lot of it, as you can see, and then I use that to distress the sides of it as well on the edges. And then I go over it with a little bit more there on one side to make sure they're all even. Now, once I get that dry, I'm going to go in for my second coat. This one I want to do a lot darker. I want to make sure I get in all those grooves. And so instead of using a baby wipe, I use a paper towel to wipe off the excess. That leaves some of the darker color down in those grooves. As you can see, it's really bringing out that great pattern on this frame and making it look more high end. And I really love this. I designed a printable for the 8x10, and I will include a link to the freebie printable down in the description of today's video so you can make your own. And it is sized 8x10, so if you print it out at 100%, it should be the perfect size for this one. Now that the frame is all stained, I want to make sure I don't touch it right away. The antique wax by Waverly does take a few minutes to dry on that for sure. Now, to make my canvas, I'm actually using the glass on the frame to make it. This is the design I made. It's a little honey farm truck full of honey in the back and bees everywhere. I think it's so cute and bright for spring. Just making sure I sized it perfectly and it looks good. So I printed mine out on cardstock. It just makes it so much easier to work with when you're making a little faux canvas like this. I just cut off the white edges of my cardstock and we can go ahead and start putting this together. I like using the glass as a background because I already have it, right? It's perfectly flat and I can just use Mod Podge to attach it. So I want the cardstock to go on top of the glass because I want that canvas feel of it. I don't want it to be behind glass, but if you like yours like that, you could totally just put it in the frame itself. I just put Mod Podge all over, laying it on top, using a dry paper towel to smooth it out to make sure I don't have any bubbling or air in there. And the great thing about cardstock is you don't really have to wait for it to dry before you start Mod Podging on top. You're not going to get wrinkling. So I go over it with a coat, just using a foam brush. I do want a little bit of a brush stroke on there to give you that canvas feel. And I go all over the front of it and give it a quick dry. I do want that great texture and I want it to be sealed really well. So I do go in with a second coat of Mod Podge doing the same thing. I've done this on many projects and I really love how this turns out. And it's so easy because you're only using one item from the Dollar Tree, just the frame. Now that I have that on there and dry, I want to see how the frame looks. It looks really good. So let's just go ahead and pop this back in the frame. These Dollar Tree frames have hangers on the back, also stands. So I'm going to use a stand to actually display this on a cabinet for spring. I think that looks pretty good. Just making sure everything's perfect before I put everything together. I'm just going to pop the back on, making sure I have it going the right way and close all the staples there on the back. And look how cute that is. Now, if you're enjoying today's video, I'd really appreciate it if you hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe. Now, the next set of bee DIYs are some bee DIYs that I've done on my channel that are some of your all's favorites. The first one is a beehive wreath DIY. I actually found this in like the regular wreath section at my Dollar Tree, and I thought it'd be fun to do burlap for it, but I thought some of the flowered burlap from Dollar Tree would be really cute with the white and yellow flowers on there, covering the back of it. This wreath DIY was so easy to do. I'm actually making this for wall decor, but you could definitely use this on your front door. Look how bright this is. I thought this would be a really fun take on this as opposed to just doing the plain burlap. Now, they do fold the burlap like this from the Dollar Tree, so you might be better off to iron it from the underside. I didn't. I'm just going to go ahead and hope that I stretch it tight and that seam will go away, and it seems like it did, but it is kind of a pet peeve of mine. Now for the rope, I'm using the wider rope from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to use that to sandwich it in. The wire wreath frames like this from the Dollar Tree are very thin, so you can kind of sandwich the wire in between the fabric and the rope, which makes it so easy. So I don't cut the burlap at all. I just start here at the bottom and I use hot glue to glue the rope down. The excess hot glue like seeps around the wire and attaches the burlap fabric to the back. So kind of a little shortcut, I guess. I'm going to start here at the very bottom, doing that bottom rung and cut it. Since they're all individually cut like this, I'm actually going to cut my rope individually too, just to make it work a little bit better, I think. And I want to make sure I don't get any hot glue that's visible there on the burlap from the front. And I'm just going to follow this pattern. Other times I've crafted this wreath form, I've cut it to make it flat on the bottom, a little bit more like the bee skep shape. But for this one, I'm doing the full beehive. And I just keep working my way up. As you can see, it's really easy. I am working on a silicone mat. A lot of you guys asked me about that. Hot glue does not stick to it, peels right off. So really easy for this. So any hot glue coming from the underside, it's not going to stick to my project or anything like that. And I do have, this is a monster mat, so it's really big. And I have it linked in my Amazon shop if you were in the market for one. They are fantastic for crafting. I love them. When I get to the top, it's just a circle up here, so I just do the same thing, except I just have the rope go around in a circle. Again, making sure I use plenty of hot glue to make sure it's sealed here on the back. And when I peel it over, it's already all glued on. Now I just have to cut off the excess fabric. I did want to make sure that it was really stuck though, so I did go and add a little bit of hot glue here to the back, just using my finger protector to attach it. But this is probably just me being a little bit extra. It was attached already. And now it's time to cut it. I want to get in there and cut as close to the wire as I can. I don't want to cut any of the rope, but I want to make sure that you can't see any of the burlap fabric from the outside. And those flowers look so fun on there. Other options you could use, they have the bee burlap from the Dollar Tree with the black and yellow bees on it, or just the black bees. I've also seen the yellow and black polka dot. Really fun bee colors that you can find in this if you're lucky. I think it would be cute with just the burlap as well, but I do think the flowers really add a lot to it. And I love working with burlap. It's one of my favorite things to craft with. Now that I have that all cut, I'm just going to go ahead and burn off the fuzzies there on my rope. It's not too wild looking so far, but a little bit of cleaning up is in order. Isn't this so cute so far? I do want to decorate it. I don't want to decorate it a lot. It's not a super big wreath, but I do want to add a bee and some things to it. For the bee, I'm going to DIY a bee with one of these little yard spinners from the Dollar Tree. I thought this would make a really fun bee body because it's kind of got the right shape, right? So I just take one of the petals and just pull it off. They are in there with wire. You do have to kind of pull hard, and you want to make sure that you don't pull it all the way out because I want to leave it in there for structure. And I think that's going to be the perfect scale bee for this DIY. For the wings, I'm using the little chalkboard hearts from the Dollar Tree. I can put them like that, and we'll have 2 wings. I'm just going to have to cover up the little hole in there since they are little ornament tags. Hearts make great wings. They're just about the perfect shape. So I just use a little bit of spackle in there and fill those in. And these are just the little chalkboard tags that you can find in the Crafter Square pretty much year round. If you have anything left over from Valentine's Day, some wooden hearts too, those would work really well. And I'm just going over them with a little bit of ivory paint, trying to blend in where I had to fill that in. I struggle using the spackle to fill those holes a little bit. Sometimes I have to go in there with a little bit more to level it out and make it blend in. And these are our little wings. And I also gave it a quick sanding to try to make it blend and added a little bit more paint to it. I do want to take a couple extra steps with that to make that blend in because I really don't want you to be able to see that in the final bee project. The bee body itself is perfect. It's yellow, black stripes. I do need a bee head though. So I'm going to craft one with some Dollar Tree felt. I picked up some of these felt rolls with some great colors for bee crafts. I'm just trying to pick out which yellow I like best to match it. I think this one is the best match. And I want to do a little circle head. Now I want something to kind of help guide me a little bit and make a perfect circle. So I'm going to use some of those little round chalkboard stickers from the Dollar Tree for a little bit of guidance on this. I'm going to use one of the larger ones, and I just peel and stick it to the Dollar Tree felt like that. And now I have a perfect circle that I can use to cut this felt. It really helped. It was a nice little guide here to give me a perfect circle without having a wood circle or anything like that. And that can be the little head for our bee, and the hearts can be the wings. I think that looks pretty cute. I do want to add a little bit more character to the wings though, so the ivory paint is dry on those, so I just give them a quick distress with some Antique Wax by Waverly, and it's going to give just a little bit more of a wing-like texture to that, wiping off the excess with a baby wipe. I put some hot glue on both of the little hearts and lay the little bee body on there from that little yard spinner. Super cute. And then I just need to attach the head. I'm not going to do antennas or anything like that, or legs or anything. I'm not going to make this more complicated than it needs to be. Just these 4 pieces. And it definitely gives you the effect of a cute little bumblebee. I think it turned out pretty cute. And I think it's going to be the perfect scale for this beehive. I want to attach it just like maybe over here to the side. And I'm not going to do like a circle hole on this at all. You could if you wanted to. You could use like a black paint pen, but I didn't know how that would look over the white flowers. I guess you could also add some black felt cut into a circle if you wanted a hole in your beehive, but I wanted mine to be a little bit more abstract. I didn't really make a hanger when I was constructing this, so I just take some twine and tie a little knot here, and I want it to hang at an angle. So I'm going to glue mine to the burlap on the back like this, so it'll hang a little bit like that to the side. I think that's going to give it a little bit more character, and let me show you how it turned out. Isn't that so cute with the flowered burlap? I really love this DIY. I love the bee shape. We're going to be doing a bee-shaped wreath too. But the beehive is definitely a cute one to DIY as well. Our little beehive wreath. I love it. Now for the next one, I'm going to make a beehive. You can use either one of these that are available at Dollar Tree, the arch windows. I have the wood one. There's also a plastic one. I'm basically going to use it for the shape to make a beehive for a wall hanging. I want to cover it with burlap, and I'm using the faux burlap bag from the Dollar Tree. I love crafting with that. It has a plastic coating on the back. It doesn't fray. It's a faux burlap, but it gives you that burlap feel. What I want to do is cover this arched window sign with the fabric to give me that great beehive shape. I think it's the perfect size for that. So I just lay it on top of my burlap bag like this, and I'm going to use a Sharpie, kind of going like a ½ inch around, all the way around, to make a little bit of a pattern here out of the burlap bag, all the way down here to the bottom. I want to make sure that there's plenty to cover the sides as well. And while the bag is folded like that, I'm going to cut out a front and a back because we're going to completely cover this, almost making a pillow where the frame is in the middle instead of the stuffing. I guess you could always use stuffing too if you wanted to. And as you can see, this burlap just cuts it so well. It doesn't fray or anything like that. That's why I love crafting with it. And I just hold them together, cut all the way around, and I'm going to get 2 perfect cutouts of this fabric that I need to make the beehive. It does have a little welcome sign on the front of the window. I thought I would go ahead and pop that off, and I can always use that in the final project. I think it will be cute. I want to do kind of a welcome to your hive feel. So I pop that off, tearing off any excess paper that's still attached to this. And I want to try to get as much of that off as I can and make sure there's no nails or anything sticking up on that might come through my fabric. I want that to blend in. And I just sandwich it in between the 2 pieces of burlap, just like this. It's going to give me a 3D quality to this when we add this to our bee sign. I do want to make sure that I have any of the Sharpie cut off for sure, and trying to see which way I like it best. I'm going to go around hot gluing the edges together just like you're making like a little DIY no-sew pillow. I go all the way around with hot glue and then just set the next piece of fabric on there, going around and gluing them to itself. It really gave me the perfect depth and everything I was looking for this project without having to stuff it or anything like that. Just having the sign inside of it, and it made it really sturdy, of course, with the wood inside. Now I want to give it that like bumpy feel that you see with like a beehive. I'm going to do that with some twine. I start here at the top and I'm just going to attach it with a dot of hot glue here to the back. And I'm going to simply wrap that around, giving it the different sections. It's going to be at a slight angle, but I think that's going to be okay. Going about an inch and a half down, just wrapping it around. It's going to give you that little bumpy feel that you're going for when you're making a beehive. And I do that all the way to the bottom, trying to make sure that it is evenly spaced. And I'll just glue that onto the back. And we have a great little beehive for this craft DIY. I think it turned out pretty cute. It's exactly what I was thinking. For this sign itself, I'm using a Dollar Tree chalkboard. I love crafting with these because they are nice and thick. They don't bow. The only thing is they have a lot of pattern on at least one side of them. So you're going to have to go about covering that up somehow. For the back of this DIY, I'm going to use some of the honeycomb fabric from the Dollar Tree. They have several varieties of this. I try to pick some of this up every year because I think it can be great for bead crafting. And I want to cover the sign with this. Instead of like using a scrapbook paper or something like that, I am just going to cover it with fabric. So I'm going to lay my chalkboard on top of the fabric here so I can see how much exactly I'm going to need to be able to cut out of this. And I'm just going to sketch this out. I had a yellow Sharpie, so you really won't be able to see that through the fabric if I don't get it all cut off, and I just go around and trace that out. Just an easy way to kind of pre-cut this without any measuring or anything like that. And I had kind of a rough edge on there, so I didn't go all the way to the edge, so I could cut that off, get a perfect cut there. And the fabric did a pretty good job not fraying. I am going to frame this out a little bit with some rope, so that will help as well. To cover this, I'm just going to use Mod Podge, go over. The fabric is nice and colorful, so I don't think you'll be able to see any of this pattern through because we're going to be decorating the sign a lot too. So I'm just going to use that so the back of mine will be finished with just a black surface. And I just smooth that out. And luckily, it provided really great coverage. Sometimes with the fabrics, then you'll be able to see the writing through, but it wasn't the case with this one. I just use a dry paper towel, smoothing that out, trying to make sure that I have good coverage and no bubbling here. Also cleaning up the back. If you have any excess fabric around the sides, just go ahead and trim that off. I want to make it look as flat as I can around here. And again, I want to try to prevent any fraying from the fabric. I decided to try my rotary cutter on this one to see if it would do a little bit better job getting close to the edge of the chalkboard. And it actually did a really good job of giving me a really close cut there. And I think that looks pretty good. I'm going to use my little Cricut leader to poke some holes here. It had the original holes in here. I'm going to have a vertical sign just like it was before with the chalkboard. And then just put some twine in here, knotting it on the front to make a simple hanger for this one. I want to decorate this one with the beehive, that welcome sign that we took off the little window sign, and some of the Scrabble letters to spell out a message for a cute little bee sign for spring. So that looks pretty good. The beehive is going to cover most of it, as you can see. I want it to be offset a little bit, so I'm going to have it go off to the side a little bit here on the left. And I just attached that with hot glue. And again, I get that great 3D effect because I actually have the window in there, making that nice and puffy, which was the look I was going for my beehive. And I think that is ready to go. These are the tiles that I'm using from the Dollar Tree to spell out a message. And I thought we could say, welcome to our hive, have hive kind of go down the side like that to give it a lot of character. So welcome to our next to it, and then hive down the side. I'm glad I saved that welcome sign. It's perfect for this. And I kind of mixes it up a little bit with the different fonts and stuff. And I just use some hot glue to glue all of the little Scrabble tiles to it. I love that you can get these at the Dollar Tree now. The wood ones are definitely my favorite. I don't really like the black and white ones very much for my crafting. I don't do a lot of just classic farmhouse. And then I do want a little opening here on the beehive. I decided to do like a little door almost at the bottom by doing a little arch with some black paint, painting the burlap. making sure I don't get any on the fabric behind, a little opening there. And then we're gonna frame out the sign with some Dollar Tree rope. I always love doing rope borders on these signs. It makes them thicker. It's going to finish off that raw edge of the fabric. And of course, rope with my bee crafting, I always try to include it. I think it's so fun. I just use one piece going all the way around, starting in the corner, hot gluing that to the edge of my fabric here. And I think it's the perfect final touch to that part of the sign. I do want to decorate it a little bit more with some flowers and bees to really give it some spring vibes. I just glue it all the way to the end, and these are the wooden bees from the Dollar Tree that I'm going to use to attach. They're a little bit larger than the ones that I get on Amazon. I really like them, but they can be a little bit hard to find at Dollar Tree, I have found. And I'm just going to kind of scatter those all over here, attaching those with hot glue to our beehive. And then I want to add some flowers. These are just some smaller yellow wildflowers from the Dollar Tree, but I think the bright yellow color is going to work, and they are a perfect scale for this, where I can kind of decorate down here in the corner where I don't have a lot going on. Just to provide another texture, a fun thing here, I just glue that here to the fabric itself, having it go a little bit off to the side. And I was trying to decide if I needed more bees, more flowers. I think that less is more with the bees, but I am going to add maybe a flower like right up here to the top. And then, you can't really have too many flowers. So maybe some over here too. Really anywhere I had an opening that I didn't have anything, I can fill in with flowers. And maybe one more bee. And we're done with this cute little beehive project. I think it's so cute. I love all the different fabrics, burlaps, twine, all the different textures, the flowers, and of course a little message on there, welcome to our hive. A cute way to make a little beehive sign. If you wanted to use that beehive without actually attaching it to a sign, I'm sure you could. Since it's nice and stiff, you can make a base for it, kind of make it freestanding if you wanted to. But this is how mine turned out, our little welcome to our hive. Now this is one of the little bee wreath forms from the Dollar Tree. I have no idea why they make these red, so I'm going to take mine outside and give it a quick spray paint with some black spray paint, because I don't want to have to worry about that red showing through in the final product. I mean, it should be black. And I like to leave the antennas just wire, so I need those to be black for sure. So I sprayed the front and the back of it, and we're going to start decorating this. I've made one of these before here on my channel, and I wanted to see if I could do a different version of it since they brought these back again this year. So I was thinking I wanted to do like a fuzzy bumblebee, and I think I was able to pull it off. So let me show you how I put it all together. First, just making sure I had all of my paint dry, and these are the materials that I'm going to use to kind of DIY this. I found a great fuzzy fabric at the Dollar Tree that I think is going to be great for the bumblebee. Then for the stripes, I thought I would use some of the black faux leather from the Dollar Tree. I thought that would be easy to cut, like straight stripes, and it's going to provide like another texture for the piece as well. And then I'm going to use shelf liner for the wings. So first I'm starting with the head. I thought since I had the black leather, I would go ahead and do the head in that one. So I am just laying the head right on top of the leather and just using a Sharpie to kind of sketch out where the head is on the back of the leather. And I love this faux leather from the Dollar Tree. It's so easy to craft with because it's just super easy to cut, and you don't have to worry about fraying or anything like that. So I'm just cutting it along those lines. I want everything to be a little bit bigger than what I need so that I can attach it to the bottom of the wreath form and it can kind of peek out on the other side. So I'm going to start with a little bee head. It looks like I cut it really well, so I can go ahead and start gluing this. I'm just going to do like half of it at a time with hot glue, making sure that is down, and then doing the other side as well. I want to cover everything with the materials from the back, And then I will come from the front and cover all of the wires too, except again for the antennae. But I did kind of need them to be black because I'm going to use a lot of black and gold on this bee, and that red would have really clashed. Now, this is the fabric that I found at Dollar Tree. I was so excited. I've never seen this at Dollar Tree before. It's like a fuzzy golden material, and I thought this would be perfect to make this guy look like a bumblebee. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to lay it like fuzzy side down, laying my wreath form on top. And I'm going to sketch out like the body of the bee. And the material kind of gives a little bit. So I was kind of having to hold the wire wreath form down on it. I can go about halfway here because that has like a double wire on the wings. And then I'm going to cut that down to size. Now I end up actually using this fuzzy material too for the head. I end up switching it later on just because I had a lot of black going on the bee and I wanted just a little bit more of golden, and I just love this fuzzy fabric. It's so cute. I found lots of new fabrics that I've never seen at Dollar Tree before, and we're going to be using a lot of them today. So that is the perfect size for the bee body, slightly overlapping the little stinger down here and the sides. So I'm just going to attach this with hot glue from the back. So everything is still kind of upside down, and then kind of glue it here to the wings as well. And then go up and I'm going to slightly overlap that with like the bee head, just hot gluing everything down. Now I'm going to be using this bee wreath form and also the beehive wreath form like later on in this video. They're probably my most time consuming projects that I was working on today, but man, I really love how they turned out. And I use these for wall hangings. I don't really use them for wreaths, but I guess you always could. They're a little small for wreaths in my opinion. Now, and this was my original plan, was to use the black leather for the stripes. So I'm going to cut out the rest of that rectangle that I had left. And then I thought the best way to cut it would be to use my like Cricut paper cutter to get perfectly square lines. So the first thing I'm going to do is make sure my rectangle is square. And then I am just going to cut, I think I did like 1/2 inch stripes. And I ended up needing a total of 3 of those. I don't want to go too crazy, but I want to have stripes like go up the body of the bee. So I'm going to need like a larger one down here. And I'm going to go ahead and attach that. Do make sure you get it on there. This is straight. When you're working kind of fast with the hot glue, sometimes you can get carried away. But that looks good. I'm also going to glue it down to that fuzzy material as well so it doesn't like bow out at all. I want it to lay flat. And then I'm going to cut my other stripes down to size. So I ended up actually only needing 2 because I was able to reuse this piece. It's pretty skinny up here at the top part of the bee. Then I'm just going to kind of trim off the excess leather. And I'm also going to kind of trim off the excess like fuzzy fabric that's kind of sticking over the edge and make sure everything is down. And once I get these on, then we can start working on the wings. I have a really fun idea using some of that shelf liner from the Dollar Tree. I thought we could make some wings that were kind of transparent, like bee wings would be. Something that you could see through, but something that's going to coordinate well with the gold and the black in the bumblebee. So I picked up just the regular shelf liner. I always like to walk around the other aisles of Dollar Tree to see what other materials I can use for craft materials, and you can often find stuff like this that can have another use. So I thought it kind of reminded me of a screen, right? So I thought that would be a fun, like transparent wing, something that you could see through. So I think that's going to work. So again, I'm just going to have to lay the bee wreath form on top of it, and I'm going to sketch out like the size of the wing. But it is black, so it's kind of hard to draw on that where you can see it, right? So I'm just using my white paint pen, and I'm just going to sketch it out in between the 2 wires. That way I can make it a little bit bigger than the inner one, but I don't want to make it too big that it hangs over the edges of the bee. So basically 2 heart shapes, and the paint pen actually worked pretty well for that. So now we're going to cut those out, and we'll have like basically all of the bee covered with the fabric, and then we can start decorating the front of the bee. I had so much fun making these DIYs. I do bees every year on my channel. They always seem to do really well. Hopefully this video will do well too. Don't forget to like, comment, and share. That always helps it do better. It's been very slow on my channel, so I'm anxiously awaiting Shore Living whenever it decides to show up in my stores. I feel like a crazy person going to Dollar Tree every day at this point. So I'm going to start here at the center or the bottom of the heart shape or the wing shape, and I'm just going to do one section at a time, gluing that shelf liner down. And I was surprised at how well that material held up to that hot glue. It didn't seem to melt at all. And I'm going to do the same thing over here, just at a section at a time, and just kind of making sure I got it on right. Now, I went back and forth about what kind of material I wanted to use to cover the wires on the front. Dollar Tree has rope, but they have it in like brown rope, they have it in white rope, and I didn't really think I wanted to do either one of those. So I will show you what I ended up doing using another product from the Dollar Tree. I think the wings look pretty good, and this is what we're going to use, the black macrame cord. So they have this in colors, including black. So I thought I could make my own rope by braiding the macrame cord. So that's what we're going to do. And I'm going to use that to cover all of the wire wreath form. So I'm going to do like about 4 feet of the rope, and I'm going to cut out like 3 pieces of it. And then I'm just going to tie the end of that into a knot, and I need to attach it to something so that I can pull on it and braid it. And I can't really tape down to my work surface here because it's silicone and not even duct tape. Nothing will stick to this stuff. And so I'll show you what I ended up using to kind of work around that. And I ended up having to make like 4 different ropes. I'm going to show you the first one that I made here. So I'm just going to take a block of wood. That can serve a couple purposes. You'll see here in a minute. And I'm just going to use my staple gun to attach that. So I can pull on that, braid it, no big deal. So I'm going to start braiding it. Now, you can braid a section, but as you can see, when you're working with the really long pieces of the macrame cord like that, it is going to get tangled up. So you do have to take breaks and kind of untangle as you go. But the board works great because you can just flip it like that and kind of keep the tension on it and keep everything untangled. And as you can see, I'm just braiding like you would braid hair, 3 pieces. It's going to give me a flat rope, which is going to be plenty wide enough to cover up the wire wreath form and all of like the seams and everything I have going on where I've attached the other fabric. So I just keep braiding this until I get all the way to the end, and then I just tie a knot on it too, just so it won't become unbraided until I can work with it. So the board trick definitely works for that, especially if you don't have something you can attach it to. But I thought this was a good way to do a black rope. I know you can paint the rope, but it doesn't always turn out with like very good coverage. So I thought that this was a fun idea. I'm going to start like here at the bottom underneath the wing and just start hot gluing that on. As you can see, I want it to cover like any fabric that might stick out from the sides and cover up everything, cover up the wire. And whenever you're working with like this like flat macrame rope, it's really easy to go around like even sharp angles like that. You can even kind of reverse direction, bend it back. You can do all kinds of different things with it. And so I'm going to do this, the bottom of the bee like this. And then I'm going to continue that same piece just to kind of make less seams. And I'm going to keep using it until I can't use it anymore. So I'm doing like the outer wire of the wing. I will have to double up the wings because the wings have 2 wires. It's kind of inevitable. I kind of wish that it had 1 wire. It would make it a little bit easier, I think. But I'm going to keep that one going. I can go all the way around the outer rope and the bottom of the bee with that 1 piece of macrame rope that I made. I am cutting them off. I'm not like leaving the knots on them or anything like that. I'm just kind of leaving those on there until I can get like my ends glued down. And once I get them glued down like that, it shouldn't be any problem like not unraveling or unbraiding. So this is my second rope that I braided. And I'm going to do the inner wing of this side so we can finish up this side of the bee wreath form. The pointy part here in between the two wings, you do have to kind of get it tight to try to cover up everything. I put the hot glue on there and then kind of squeeze it together to try to cover up as much space as possible. But then again, I'm just covering up the wire on this one, and I want it to be as close as I can get it to the other one, so there's really not like much of a gap in between the two different wires, the two different braids. So I have some left over here. I should have enough for the head on this rope. So I'm going to go ahead and just start kind of where the wing is, because everything kind of overlaps there, so I don't need it to go all the way down. And I'm just going to do the top part of the head, gluing that down. And then I have another rope here. I'm going to just cut my knot off of it. I'm going to start it on the neck there where I can finish off the head. And then I'm going to continue that same piece down and go around the wing as well. And I'm trying to make sure that I don't have like any like visible hot glue or anything on the top of the macrame rope. So I'm trying to be careful with that. If I see it, I clean it up with my heat gun as fast as I can. So that rope got me about that far. I didn't make that one quite as long. So I'm going to have to do a fourth rope that I braided, and then I do the inner wing with that one. Again, I have to kind of go around this crazy corner up here, and I just pinched everything together to cover that up. One thing I love about how this bee wreath turned out is all of the fun textures. Like we've got like these great see-through wings. We've got the fuzzy bumblebee. We got the leather stripes. It was so fun to do this one, but it was a little time consuming. Once I got that wing covered, I'm going to again cut off the rest of it. And this is what it looks like at this point. I can just use the antenna to hang it. That's when I decided it was a little too dark. So I'm going to pop off the leather for the head and replace it with some more of that fuzzy golden fabric to brighten it up a little bit, because I had a lot of black going on between the black rope, the black wings, and the black head. So just using my heat gun, I'm carefully popping off the leather. I'm going to use that as a template to cut out the fuzzy gold fabric. I'm really glad I did it. I think it's so much cuter now with a little fuzzy bumblebee head. So just cutting that piece down to size. Then I've already got like the braided rope on the front. I just have to kind of replace this here on the back. No big deal. I just attach it with hot glue. And I even thought about like maybe making a back on that and kind of stuffing the head a little bit so it's stuck out a little bit. But I decided the fuzziness was good enough of a texture. And this is how it turned out. I think it's so pretty. I'm just going to kind of clean up that black macrame rope, kind of picks up any of that fuzzy material. And just make sure I have everything cleaned up. And then again, I don't need a hanger because I can just hang it from one of the little bee antennas. But this is how it turned out. I think the shelf liner for the wings is just a really fun idea. And here on a photo, you can really see the fuzziness of that material. I think that was a really fun choice. And I love the texture there on the wings. If you can't find the yellow fuzzy fabric, really any kind of yellow fabric would do. I've done several varieties of the bee wreath and I love them all. Okay, you've made it to the final reveal. I really hope you enjoyed these 7 bee Dollar Tree DIYs. Please let me know which one was your favorite down in the comments below. Don't forget to check out my second channel, Crafty Little Beach, if you like watching individual DIYs on your phone, and enjoy the final reveal.
In a world of green, just like a dream, you and I standing wild and free, with petals so golden, the sun's warm kiss, a love so strong, a bliss. unfold. It's you that I need, it's you that I want. When the world gets cold, it's you and me. When the sun comes back, you'll see. Oh, dandelion, the strength that you've shown, stronger each year. Look how we hold on through the toughest of times. We still stand strong. Through pavement we will grow. Forever we will grow. Deep within your eyes, I found a home. The love that we share can never grow. In your gaze, the world looks bright. Forever by your side. This town is quiet, serene and wide. You keep me warm and safe at night. No matter the season, we always bloom. 'Cause you light up the gloom. Oh, dandelion, the strength that you've shown, stronger each year. Look how we hold on through the toughest of times. We still stand strong. Through pavement we will grow. Oh, dandelion, the strength that you've shown, stronger each year. Look how we hold on through the toughest of times. We still stand strong. Through pavement we will grow. Forever we will grow. Forever we will grow.
Thank you so much for making it all the way to the end of today's video. I also want to give a huge thank you to my YouTube members for supporting my channel. Thank you to Karen O'Haron, Melinda Elizabeth, Jamie Job, Susan Edmonds, Tracy Knight, Janae Farrington, Pamelia Wren, Donna Schreiner, I Am Mojo Jojo, Live Another Day, Maren Christensen, Adrian Brult, Debbie Middleton, Donna Tanner, Kim Rogers, and Maria Cruz Pagan. I appreciate you guys so much. If you would like to become a Crafty Beach Bum member too, all you have to do is hit the join button next to today's video. You'll get early ad-free access to my content here on YouTube, a badge next to your name when you comment down below, and a shout out in every video, and I really appreciate the support. I'd also love to see your DIYs. Make sure you join our private Facebook group. The description has the link, and we would love to see what you've been crafting. When you're watching this, my son and I are actually going to be on spring break in Seattle and in Vancouver. So hopefully we're having a great time, and I hope you enjoyed these bee DIYs. If you'd like more bee DIYs, be sure to check out one of these videos right here. And until next time, happy crafting.